A little experiment for our conservative Bible reading friends in the United States. I'm going to use the first 4 chapters of the book of Daniel in the Old Testament because I just released a course on that, which you find in my link tree. So here's a little bit of context. When I tell people that if you want to see the relevance of the biblical text for us today, the way to do that is not to pretend that the text is about us or that the text is for us, but rather to take it seriously because that is what you say you want, right? And to interpret the text with respect to the people for whom it was actually written, which was them. But then people often turn around and, not having listened to what I just said, they might say, well, then the Bible isn't relevant for us. My whole point is to say, if you want it to be relevant, you have to interpret it well, you have to treat it well. Anyway, so here's a little experiment. Since you are telling me that the Bible is about you and us and our time, how about this? I'll tell you the contents of the first 4 chapters of the book of Daniel, and then you do the work of connecting it to today. All right? So here we go. The king desired another country with Jerusalem in it and decided to besiege it. Okay. The king then commanded his palace master to bring the best resources of that country to his country because he thought it would be nice if he had what they have. All right? The king ordered the palace master to change names, people, places. But those who, like Daniel, were truly God's people, decided not to play along with the king and defile themselves. The king had bad dreams, was very troubled by them, and couldn't sleep, so he asked the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, to advise him. He then says to them that he's troubled by these dreams and he doesn't understand what's going on. He also says to them, if you do not tell me both the dream and its interpretation, you shall be torn limb from limb, and your houses shall be laid in ruins. How is that for emotional intelligence? When the sorcerers told him that they could not possibly do this, no one on earth could, the king flew into a rage and commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be destroyed. You make the connection. Chapter 3. The king made a golden statue. At the dedication of the statue that the king had set up, the herald proclaimed that all those who came to the dedication needed to kneel down and worship the statue. Because guess what? If they don't, they're going to be thrown in the fiery furnace. And also guess what? Who ends up in the fiery furnace because they don't want to worship the king and his stupid golden statue? The people of God, as represented by Daniel and his friends. Because that's what people who think they're the people of God actually do. So those guys said to the king, quote, we will not serve your gods, and we will not worship the golden statue that you have set up. The king flew into a rage again, and he had the furnace fired up 7 times as much as normal, and he had those guys thrown into the furnace. And of course, if you know the story, they survived. They were untouched. In fact, they experienced God's presence in the furnace. And the king was super puzzled by that. And in chapter 4, finally, the king had another moment of being troubled in his mind, and he also had another dream. And he said, I saw a dream that frightened me, and the visions in my head terrified me. Actually, the visions of my head in the dream terrified me. Because the dream, or in the dream, those who represented God were saying to him that he will be cut down and destroyed, and that his mind will be changed from that of a human to that of an animal, and that he will be eating grass in the wild like an animal. Let's call him King Green as opposed to, I guess, King Orange or something. So how do God's people respond to the king? Well, yet again, Daniel goes to him, to King Green, and says to him, the tree that you saw in your vision, that is you, O king. You're the one who's going to be cut down. So they stood up to him. How about that? And then Daniel said, you shall be driven away from human society, and your dwelling shall be with the wild animals. You shall be made to eat grass like oxen. All these things came to pass. His hair grew as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails became like bird's claws. Okay, my conservative Christian Bible reading friends, for whom the Bible is very important, and you think you're entitled to make it straight about you and about us, so you don't have to interpret anything. Tell me, how is this working out for you?